Welcome back. I'm really glad to be seeing you again today. So, just to go over our last session, we were talking about airplanes and how it's challenging for you to fly because you get the feeling of motion sickness, right?
Yeah, it's just that riding in an airplane makes me motion sick, and I'd rather not ride in them at all, except there's a family vacation coming up that I really want to go on. I just want to talk about my anxiety on airplanes.
Okay, I gotcha. So, you have family vacation coming up in a month, and the motion sickness is what you feel like is holding you back from that.
Yeah, and I really do want to go on this vacation, and I know I'll have fun when I'm there. It's just I'm worried about the plane ride and feeling sick, and getting sick in front of other people is embarrassing and uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Getting sick in front of people in a public space is hard.
Yeah, and I feel like if it was just me on the plane, I'd still get sick, but it wouldn't be nearly as bad. The crowd and being there close to the strangers makes me anxious to begin with, and then feeling sick only makes it worse until I actually get sick.
Yeah, the social aspect of riding in airplanes and being in an airport can definitely add on to the stress of being physically sick.
Yeah, and it just adds to the uncomfortableness of plane rides. Feeling my body struggle and not being able to do anything about it is really uncomfortable. And then I get the feeling of being stuck because I'm on the plane and I can't do much but stay in the bathroom.
Yeah, so have you tried any coping skills to help with this? Like, let's say you were in a perfect world and you could control the environment. What are some things that you would do to help?
Well, in the perfect world, no one else would be on the plane, and it would just be me looking out the window. But in reality, there is other people. So if I want to sit by the window, then I know I'm gonna have to climb over people to get to the bathroom, and that just makes me anxious.
Yeah, definitely. So what I'm hearing is giving yourself plenty of space and giving yourself having that feeling of separation from other people and being able to look out that window.
Yeah, it definitely helps. 'Cause I remember this one time I was on a flight and it was pretty empty, and everyone got to pick their own seats and space out. And I think it was a later night flight on like a weekend, so it wasn't really busy. And I'd prefer that if it could be that.
Yeah, that sounds like a great identification you just made of evening flights with fewer people and in a scenario where you can pick your own seat. That's great that you can identify that.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk to my parents about booking an evening flight. I think that might help a little bit if I get to pick my own seat.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really, really great identification you made there.
Yeah, I just hope that there's flights available later in the day. Hopefully there'll be less people.
Yeah. Well, that's really good that you can identify that. Is there anything else that you can think of that might help?
I don't know. I just feel like when it's so crowded, it's so claustrophobic. But sometimes even being there with less people, I'll still get sick. And I just hate how it feels, and I hate how I feel like it wears me out.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely, the aftermath of being sick too. I'm hearing that can add on to everything.
Yeah, it just sticks with me, and I really hate it. Like if I got sick and then I didn't feel anything afterwards, I could deal with that. But it just wipes me out the whole day, and it leaves me feeling sore and exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely having that exhausted, sore feeling, and knowing that, okay, even if you were on the perfect flight, then you still might get sick. It still might happen.
Yeah. I wonder if staying hydrated would help. But then I'm afraid that if I drank too much, then my stomach would just be full and I'd throw that up. So maybe staying hydrated wouldn't help. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a great point that you bring up. That's definitely something you can explore and maybe try out too, of trying to be hydrated to help you feel better after the flight.
Yeah. Sometimes when I eat a little bit right after the flight, it helps. Sometimes it doesn't. Like if there's a bunch of turbulence, then it wouldn't even matter. I'll just keep getting sick. But if the plane is calm and there isn't any turbulence, then eating a little bit usually does help.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad that you brought that up. That, on a specific flight where it's calm and quiet, that you can eat a little bit and that will help you feel better. So it's really awesome that you can identify that.
Yeah, and sometimes sitting still with my eyes closed helps, especially if I have music or something to focus on. I usually try and bring headphones with me, but sometimes it worries me that I won't be able to hear my surroundings.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, how the headphones can help you cancel things out, that at the same time you're not going to be able to hear, your surroundings. You're not going to be able to be on top of it and be present. So let's talk about your thought process a little bit. When you're thinking about getting on a plane, or when you're actually there in person getting on a plane yourself, what's your thought process?
Well, it doesn't really stress me out that much to think about it, especially if I know I don't have to ride on a plane for a while. But I know when I'm going on a plane soon, it does really stress me out to think about. My mind just jumps to the worst case scenarios, like what if I'm sick on the plane and something really bad happens and I don't know about it.
Yeah, it's definitely a part of human nature, to worry about those emergencies and to have that anxiety. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I just get nervous that something bad will happen, like the plane will crash or someone gets hurt and it just all goes out of control.
Yeah, I can understand how that is definitely something you'd worry about. I'm not used to riding on airplanes either. That is definitely something that I will worry about, is something that's out of my control happens.
Yeah, but I feel like that's just normal anxiety. Like, it's something that a lot of people think about.
Yeah, it is definitely normal anxiety. Yeah, like I've said before, we all think about it. It happens to all of us. Anxiety does. And again, it's part of human nature. We have to have anxiety in order to live. It keeps us from doing dumb things or risking our lives. So it definitely can be a tool, but at the same time, it can be kind of a double-edged sword, and it can really hurt us, especially when we get stuck in that thought process.
Yeah, I've flown on planes a couple times, but not really enough to be totally okay with it. Like, I know it's rare for emergencies to happen, but it's just so easy to think about the worst possible outcome.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was saying before, anxiety just happens a lot of the time.
Yeah, but I feel like that's just normal flight anxiety, like something that a lot of people think about.
Yeah, I would say that, everyone has anxiety when flying. So tell me a little bit about physical anxiety. Have you ever experienced physical anxiety?
What do you mean by physical anxiety?
Yeah, so anxiety can come to us in many different forms. It can be like racing thoughts, and it can be all in our heads, but it can also be very physical. So it can be things like your palms are sweaty, or your stomach gets upset, or it can be more intense things like having panic attacks, hyperventilating, crying. So have you ever experienced things like that before?
No, I haven't really felt anything too intense like that. I mean, my stomach gets upset sometimes before I go onto the plane, but I just kind of thought that was just normal, and it was just me anticipating the motion sickness.
Yeah, it very well could be you anticipating that motion sickness. But I would say that's an anxiety thought. You worrying about the flight is anxiety.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty hot before too when I get on planes, like when I'm waiting in the terminal, especially if it's busy. Like I like to sit by the windows and get some space, just so I don't feel like it's too crowded and I can't breathe. Plus, looking out the window and looking at the horizon helps me feel grounded too.
Yeah. So again, identifying that giving yourself space and looking out those windows are your biggest helpers.
Yeah, I just hope I can remember all this stuff the next time I go to fly. And I feel like these things will help when we've been talking about.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about how you can help yourself remember. What are some things you might be able to do?
Maybe like making a list, taking it with me, or writing it on the notes app on my phone.
Yeah, those are really great ideas. Having something that you can easily access or quickly look at. I could see how that would help you a lot.
Yeah, I feel like I should make a list of what to pack and that would help too. Because I know my headphones help, and maybe like an eye cover would help too, or something like that, or something to help me keep my hands busy and not focusing on how I feel.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So it looks like we're nearing the end of our time for the session today. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap things up?
No, I think we covered everything today.
All right, sounds good. Can't wait to see you again next time.